Moving to Portland, Oregon in 2018 and beyond, whatever year you're watching this, should come with a warning sticker. And I can guarantee that there's no one else even on YouTube, let alone the mainstream media, that'll give you my perspective. Now, I left Portland for the last time in 2015, left for the first time in 2011, did some video work in Texas, had my first off-grid experience in Costilla County, came back to Portland, Oregon in 2014 after Portlandia came out, found myself not hired at the places that I applied, back on Access TV, did Access TV for 10 years, but the stigma of being homeless, I think, alienated me from a lot of Portlanders that were already being conditioned to pay the high rent. So I learned in an accelerated short period of time, I believe, a lot about human psychology and myself. And it freed me of Portland, Oregon. Now, why am I making this video? Well, I've already made videos that have reached people that were contemplating moving to Portland, Oregon, and they thought better of it when they realized what they were dealing with. There's a number of videos I've done in the past. Look for the Real Portlandia series playlist by yours truly. But I'm going to update what's on my front page for the different topics I cover: off-grid living, geopolitics, spirituality, elements of psychic self-defense, various travel and different things and other ideas, commentary on relationships. But I've learned a lot about relationships between people, not just between friends, but, you know, in the dating scene, there was a seemingly rapid level of awareness as to where society's consciousness actually is, as opposed to, you know, the type of community that I'd like. And ultimately, the high highs of Portland, the low lows, can be really taxing to some of us that are sensitive individuals. Add in cell phones, add in more people moving in, add in that nature and spirit of greed, as a lot of people maybe from New York and LA, other cities, look to Portland as just automatically better because they may be new to migrating to new places and not realize that they could find some of that same Brooklyn type of nitty-gritty energy in outer Southeast that no one warned them about. And some people are sensitive. And so on another level, right, I'm trying not to go too long, but I could literally go all day. There's a history, first of all, violent behavior. We have the foundation of the city in the Shanghai tunnels. For those that don't know, there's a period in which people that came, that built the city, the miners, the loggers, the seamen, would get drunk in Old Town, Chinatown, and they would usually be deceived by a woman that worked in the brothels. They also made sure to not write the stories about the women that were the first women of Portland, which were sex workers. And so it was corrupt to the core, bad to the bone, Dante's Inferno, a lot of unregulated drinking going on, a lot of questionable ingredients, and a lot of people were taken advantage of, both men and women. So there's a tone of slavery and hardship and the spirit of Skid Row. And we're talking about like right after the Native Americans perished, after the measles outbreak, following the trail of Lewis and Clark, who are basically gods of the Pacific Northwest to a degree. And I say that sarcastically. But a lot of history is written by the victors, as they say. And so when I'm trying to paint the picture in the mind's eye as a place that holds a certain amount of energy, and I think it's a little bit magical. And with the solar flares and lunar influence, I get into that in detail in other videos. What I'm getting at, certain places can have a lot of energy. It could be used for good, and it could also be intoxicating, maddening. People could also fall in love with their own narcissism. So I've seen how Portland, Oregon even brings out a lot of the holier-than-thou personality types. Antifa is expressing that civil unrest element as well as the Proud Boys. And I can say that as an independent without taking sides, not being a Democrat or Republican, even though Antifa doesn't represent necessarily Democrats. And so it would be years ago when I was doing my Access TV show that I talked about Portland being an at-risk city. Talk about this global war scenario where America's under occupation. Look at where Portland is on the map. Look at my investigations at the top off 4. So if you look at it from their perspective, divide and conquer, baby, early on, before the economic collapse, before the conflict with Russia and China goes the next level. And I was talking last year on this channel about how I suspected, and this is before Joey Gibson was going on InfoWars. It's like they didn't want that to come out right away. That I felt that Joey Gibson, Tiny Tootsie, and others And then Gavin came on the scene later, really shot to the top when he really wasn't as well known. That's not by accident. But these guys seem to be led by InfoWars. Of course, we had the appearance of Joe Biggs in Portland, Oregon. So there's definitely the InfoWars parasitic. And the irony of this is Alex Jones was a kind of a different person back in the day. And he inspired me back in the day to cover certain things and to really wake up to the police state. And then I enjoyed exposing him on this channel in a 20-part series called the Alex Jones Deception Series, articulating with him and Trump how he went 180 and turned turncoat. So I'm probably one of the better individuals for you to hear from an independent perspective, talk about either Portland, Oregon, Alex Jones, or the unrest, and a whole bunch of other issues. Subscribe if you're new. Share and like this video. I'm in my 12th year, right? But I'm still an underdog. Why? Because I don't compromise. And I will say things that are unpopular, including people that have been nice to me at some point, that are like, Alex, why would you criticize us joining Antifa or jumping on vehicles or blah, 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 because I don't agree with your behavior. Well, you're a cop, blah, blah, blah. Back in the day, I used to get that crap from some Portlanders. And that's not cool. I'm an independent person with a spiritual perspective on a larger global, not just a conspiracy, but spiritual reality. And I think that it's rude and ethnocentric to myself and others when we share our truth. And so I've experienced with the intolerant left. Okay, let's go ahead and start there, then let's start getting ready to play some videos. So I'm not siding with either side. I'm describing to you a construct of metaphysical energies where people converge in a city called Portland, Oregon, but maybe it might be known by another name to others. It's like a supernatural place. It's a place where the energies are intense. It's an intense energy place where some people are successful for a certain amount of years, and some people crash. I think there are maybe good times for Portland and not so good times, kind of like wine. But the solar cycles and their influence on human behavior in certain areas, that's the number one thing that I look at. And I've seen a lot of links between violent behaviors in Portland and solar cycles, including drive-bys. When the solar cycle started up of 24, in 2010 and 2011, I was noticing direct correlations with news from spaceweather.com and drive-by shootings in Portland, Oregon. And instead of even being respected by my peers in the solar research community, I'm still considered a kook by them because I go outside the arena of just looking at solar minimum or those things that are the populous areas. It's like, I'm speaking from my heart and my soul, ladies and gentlemen. This is a deeper level. Portland's affected by some heavy, heavy energies. Humans are transmitter receivers. So if someone's going to be moving to Portland, Oregon, and most people are aware of some of these ideas, but they just didn't see Portland as being tied in with the dark grid. And I'm telling you it is. That's why you have a lot of sexual assaults there, attempted, drugs. You have a lot of people that start worshiping themselves. And it's one thing to worship the divine feminine. It's another, it's one thing to appreciate it, rather. It's another to worship it. And some people actually start worshiping and selling flesh. And they confuse their pleasure with spirituality. So that's the end of that point. A lot of people get high off the energies. The next thing I want to bring to your attention, I knew someone that's lived an interesting life in Portland's 70s and 80s. And he's seen a lot of elements of old Portland. And it was a violent place to where you had to really be able to hold your own, going into certain bars. And he was a wild man. We'll just leave it at that. But today's Portland has a lot more wild behavior from people that have come up from other places. And some people are pretty dangerous. Don't want to mess with them. So there's the progression of things. Portland seems to be a more violent place. I said for years it would become less safe for women and human trafficking would become more of an issue. And during the collapse, it could be ground zero for a big operation dealing with foreign governments and cartels working together. But moving on. Never was popular when I said that. But I think that people really need to look a little bit more critical at the idea of moving to Portland. They need to ask themselves, are the people of Portland, Oregon being socially engineered? Is the city itself being terraformed? These new technologies going up. We know about the 5G in other cities. But just looking at Portland, Oregon alone, well, what's that with that weird big metal statue antenna Archon thing on like the east side of the Hawthorne Bridge? Anybody watching in Portland? Shout out to Bill, 251 Omega. He said hi the other day. I enjoy hearing from you. I wonder how you're doing. I imagine you're out there with your dogs taking pictures by the Columbia River. But I personally miss elements of old Portland, but that old Portland is gone forever. And so to my old friend that's seen a more violent time in Portland's past, they may be a little bit unnerved, whether they like to talk about it or not. I wonder how they feel watching elements of their city, as well as others, right, descend into chaos. And I see a lot of people that are all amped up on the internet about speaking ill of Portlanders without realizing that this doesn't represent Portlanders. And a lot of the people that you see fighting in the next clip aren't from Portland, including the guy that held the camera. Portland, Oregon has been a convergence of people that have moved there that aren't from there. And again, I was born in Portland, Oregon. On my mother's side, like, there's at least 3 or 4 generation Oregonian that I know of on my mother's side. But I know what it's like to grow up outside of Portland as well. Grew up in Aurora, an outsider of the cliques and outside of the party circles. But I know that it played a part in my early evolution as a speaker. And I really remember what it was like then, and I know what it's like now. And I'm getting ready to play this clip, folks, but I'm not trying to rush this. Every word needs to be said, and I'm telling you right now. I got involved in looking at what was going on in the world in the year 2000, 2001, left Portland in 2011. So that's a good 10, 11 years of being involved in activism. Most of it on the air on Access TV, went to some anti-war demonstrations. Even when we're fighting the cops, not to fight the cops, but I was always, in some cases, bullhorning both groups as being controlled opposition while the New World Order takes us over. You know, that was my bet. And people thought that was a little bit weird. Like, what are you doing here? And I would just come and make a statement about 9/11 and other things, Federal Reserve and other things, surveillance society and other things, domestic terror drills and other things, you know, things that weren't very popular. I'd be that guy. But those things were true that I talked about, and I was trying to wake them up. But ultimately, to a lot of the people on the left, I just wasn't trying to be badass enough. And I ultimately lived a very lonely life during all those years in which I hosted my program. If anything, those are supposedly the golden years. That's pretty pathetic. So I'm looking forward to having some exciting times, folks, in my 40s, and I will be 40 in just a year and a half. But the point was, I've never physically seen with my own eyes anywhere this level of violence. At a bar, I've seen fights between a few people at bars. I was in jail a long time ago in 2000 in Portland. You know, I made mistakes when I just tell you, I wait till I was an adult before I, got involved in heroin. And I was to clean myself up in 2004. No one gave me a medal for that. I got right involved in activism, and here I am many years later on my own land in Colorado, in isolation, mind you. But I watch in spirit my hometown, and I wonder, why is it also so difficult to connect with Portlanders from a distance? And that was also the sad thing, realizing it was more important to them, my audience on Access TV, that I was, or whether or not I was in Portland, Oregon, as opposed to my commentary about Portland, Oregon, a city that I care about. No one's really cared. I could say hi to a few people out there. Hello, Julie. Hello, Bill. A few other people out there. My circles were never large, but there's very few people that I hear from anymore from Portland, Oregon. Why is that? I think that there is, like, and I'm not trying to be mean to anybody, but I knew how some people were years ago in the 90s, and I feel like some people have lost their life essence or their lust for life. I think some people have had their energy sapped, and I think that a lot of things that I've talked about have played into what's happened to people. If I've been talking about the dangers of cell phones and dense population centers and the idea of our energies being harvested, right? I get into the supernatural from the spiritual perspective, but I don't channel. Just my waking knowing and my speculation. I'm not afraid to share it. I think some people have had their energies harvested, and it's really sad to see what's happened to them. I think the city is killing some people. And I think that a lot of women and men that are spending thousands of dollars to move across the country could probably benefit from knowing that the people that are already there in the place that they're trying to get to are literally at the brink up here. So I'm going to show you a couple examples. I'm probably the only YouTuber out there that's showing you the different examples together. I want to give, again, Mike Smith credit. Check out his work. Okay, let's not start with the most intense thing. I meant to start with the fighting. But here, imagine yourself in a situation to where you're wondering, as a woman in Portland, why there isn't an officer coming to document your sexual assault report, or you're wondering why things are getting worse, why there doesn't seem to be proper response. You know, it would be good if people knew how broke the system is, how fake it actually is, when they're going to send 8 police officers, take a look, to go after one jaywalker.
Oh, okay, right on. So he was stopped at a traffic stop or whatnot?
The call was, we were attempting to stop him for a pedestrian violation.
Right on.
He refused to stop.
Right on. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Mike Bluehair reporting for Film the Police Portland. I have no idea what the heck is going on. I think they're taking somebody down across the street.
Okay, so this goes on for about 10 minutes, but you get the idea. We also have the police busy harassing the homeless in this clip here.
Looks like, I don't know what exactly happened here.
And I'm actually doing this without listening to this because I don't want to have an echo effect. I want you to have good audio on your end. But this is this is really like a misuse of resources. But I understand there are certain laws to uphold. But you know what's more important? Policing the homeless, sending 8 cops after a jaywalker, or maybe actually dealing with public safety. And so they use the excuse of crime, and we have poverty pimps. I guess in San Francisco, they're looking to tax the people to deal with the home. There are a lot of ways they build big government to rob us. It's a con. It's a pimp game, right? And so we get poor collectively as a society where you have a lot of people put into positions of police officer, also elements of the mental health field, where they're not necessarily helping to fix the problem, and there are more solutions than affordable housing. So, there's a lot of different things. You can see Aaron back there. I've hung out with Aaron plenty of times. It's Cameron's bookstore. I used to work across the street for a total of 5 years. For 5 years, I worked as a busser at Ruth Chris Steakhouse. And again, this is right above the Shanghai tunnels and closer to Old Town. Okay, so as we go to the next one, now we're building up. Instead of show you the violence first, now this one's cop watching, one hell of a mental health crisis. Because people are playing this game of, oh, you know, it's just those people that are crazy, or it's just those people that are crazy, or look at those protesters. But if we actually look at the craziness of the government, look at the craziness of those living on the streets, you look at the craziness of the political street fighting, which is coming up next, and then this larger picture of this type of environment, and the real Portlandia comes into view.
Yeah, I'm filming you.
So I think you're probably starting to get the picture with this one. And so brace yourself. Viewer discretion is advised. We are about to show you the latest. Now, let me just kind of give you an introduction before you just show you see something that that might disturb you. I mean, it looks like a prison riot, what you're about to watch. And look at the videos of the protests years ago, for example. A couple years ago when the Proud Boys first started out, before the big famous punch promoted by InfoWars, before they helped build that into one big thing, just like I predicted. Just like I predicted, it would erupt into something to where it would be, you know, mostly larger Antifa. And there's videos where I talked about this. And I said that through the promotion of the violence, through the YouTube videos, through websites like InfoWars, and what if they are part of a larger operation, a government operation? Look at the violent rhetoric from Gavin. There are some clips that basically consolidated, if you don't listen to his show, what he has said. And that's it. That's the end of the debate. It's not a leaked tape recording. It's what he says. So in the tradition of Mark Hessler and in the tradition of Pete Santilli and others, we very well could be dealing with someone that's an agent of empire. And a lot of people don't factor this in. A lot of people don't go beyond COINTELPRO of the 1970s and the things that were done to attempt to destabilize the civil rights movement. In a lot of ways, there are still attempts, successful and unsuccessful, to destabilize what we're doing now. What we're seeing right now is the modern day version. So as we get ready for this, think about the role that Gavin played with promoting violence and barroom brawling. And I'm not taking sides, but you create an image around that. People that identify with wanting to be a part of a gang where they're going out fighting. I'm going to say this again. 2000 all the way up until, I didn't see anything like this. I don't know that I made that point yet. In all my years of Portland, this stuff, see, I felt that something bad was going to happen to Portland. I still do. So this is like something that seems to be an operation to create the unrest before the big event that could involve Portland, and there could be an Islamic false flag. If you look at Muhammad, and thank you, Mike Smith, for reminding people of that, they used that Christmas tree bombing where the FBI found a Somalian guy who was basically like mentally retarded and gave him money. They pretend to be Islamic militants, and they sent him in the direction of the Christmas tree in downtown Portland, scaring Portland to get it in the JTTF. And Portland re-entered the JTTF in recent years. I believe it was 2014, in 2014. But it was an integrated process. But I believe that it was Charlie Hales. And I remember being down there for that and recording. So I've seen a lot of things come and go in Portland, seen a lot of anger. So there was the rise of Occupy. That was mostly the people versus the police. But ultimately, it was under the Obama administration that endorsed Occupy to a certain degree, so it was a movement that fizzled out. It didn't really seem to be something that accomplished anything. I didn't think that it would. It was really our introduction, along with the Arab Spring, to the idea of these manufactured events, manufactured revolutions, rather. And then seeing that Alex Jones was also a part of it on his side, well, now it becomes even more clear how many different sides seem to be co-opted with the masses that want to react and have a side to be tribal, not even realizing that the things are going on and being programmed by their peers in the media to see people like me trying to warn them as the enemy, as their political enemy. To the people of Portland, they thought I was right-wing. To the people that are right-wing on YouTube viewing it, they think I'm left-wing. Instead of just being the independent that I am, giving you a perspective that's coming from my heart and soul. So, here we go. This is the progression of things. And also, try to pay attention to the
officers things are diffusing.
Try to pay attention to the video for signs of people with weapons.
With the microphone. But fire and rescue just showed up to examine him. So I think they got medical here.
No, she's not home. I told him to come back at noon. I'm filming this now. Foot in the door, won't leave. This is harassment, Sarge. I'm telling him to leave, come back at noon. I'm getting wicked pissed. I got 2 babies here and a bunch of 14-year-olds that won't go.
So I
told him to come back at noon. No, they're swearing at me, calling me, freeze here, fucko. Who the fuck are you? Blah, blah, blah. That's the other guy. No, that's not a story. He just called me fucko twice. You're gonna lie. No, you didn't know. The Carol's very chill. This guy's chill. He just got his foot in my door and he's pissing me off. The other guy, this big dude back here, my door swearing at me, calling me fucko, and that she hears this thing. She's not here. You're not coming in. I spoke that she's not here. You're not coming in. Come back and I said that. I asked you to please move your foot from my door. You're not coming in. So what other business you have standing on my door? No, there's no everyone. You're talking to 2 neighbors who have probably just got it themselves. Sarge, will you please tell me? I spoke my piece.
So this is not really about politics. That's the illusion. This is about the sport fight. This is about group MMA with meth, with weapons, with bear spray, with some people look like they're on meth, with some people look like they're in a prison gang, with some people that will come straight out, and Mike Smith has recorded some of those videos, and will scream certain things. Some of these people that attempt to join the Proud Boys are attempting to join for specific reasons. And that's actually something that I found by accident as I was on kind of a mini binge of watching these things, and I'm like, wow, I have to show these together. I really hope you understand and others understand why I'm doing this and highlighting Mike's work. And even if they don't see the paranormal element to Portland, Oregon, what is they're documenting, maybe they will. Look, see that baton used on that guy's bike or back? So there's 3 guys on one in that little scene there. And it looked like they already got the guy taken down to the ground. And even if it's like an arrest, we'll go over here, close this. Okay, so here we go. We're about to get into, I understand the mentality of, well, they did this, they blocked the road. Yeah, but there's a certain amount of, and I wasn't there, and I realized Antifa is stalking people. I've watched nearly all of the videos until I was nearly sick watching it. Again, think about people that live in Portland, Oregon that are not even political. Think about it from another perspective other than your perspective if you're watching this and you're emotionally charged. Right? You have all these people descending on this city, but most of the people in the city are not involved in Antifa and not involved with the Proud Boys. They're watching us going, who are these people taking over our city? And there are 2 opposing gangs. And there could be people that are funding both sides. And how is that fair to the people of Portland? And I don't know how to make it more simple than that. Shouldn't you move to Portland, Oregon in 2018? Do you have the money, honey? Are you into stuff like this? Right? Do you like it reptilian style? Right? You know, and the guise of being spiritual and stuff. Yeah! It's a toilet bowl. And so I think that living in these environments can affect the whole. You know, you don't have to affect every fish. You just have to affect the sea that the fish are swimming in. In Portland, wow. Portland is one sea of energy. So went over to Mr. Wes's channel, and we're just going to hear a little bit of audio, right? I want you to understand where I'm going with this. I just found this by accident. So he's visiting his friend, who I guess is a Proud Boy, and he's also a cop watcher, don't know his name. And he's saying that his roommate, who he just had a beef with, and he ended up calling the police because he said that his roommate was making announcements to go and to basically commit a mass shooting. So we'll go ahead and pull that up.
And his hairbrush, because he has a lot of hair. Thanks, sirs. Have a good night. No, this fucking piece of shit. I let this motherfucker stay in my fucking house for 3 fucking weeks. 3 fucking weeks I let this motherfucker stay in my house. All he had to fucking do was pay for a little bit of food, pay for this, pay for that. Fucking no big deal. All of a sudden, this motherfucker is wanting to go downtown with Proud Boys and Us Patriot Prayer and start shooting motherfuckers. He wants to go downtown on the goddamn top of a fucking building and start picking motherfuckers off. No, I ain't fucking about that, dude.
No.
Fuck that shit. You ain't gonna go around and just start shooting fucking people. Yeah, we might fight Antifa and we might fight them, but we're not gonna go down there and just start shooting fucking people. We're not fucking vigilantes. Unless our government comes to that, that's not what we're fucking about. We're not gonna do that.
Right.
So yeah, as we wrap up here, I think that you're getting the picture here, and I'm just playing a snippet of that. A little bit of profanity there, but of course we're not on cable TV. Remember back in the old days of cable access, but maybe some of you are understanding a little bit. There is some trauma within my heart with regards to missing the old days. This was a place in which I was born. I don't have living family there. I invested 10 years of my life from an independent perspective, speaking of Portland on cable access TV. At one point, because Clyde wasn't on the air for a few years, at one point I was the only one in Portland talking about certain things. Clyde was a good friend in the earlier days, right? Before his return to radio, but in the earlier days, he was one of the few that I talked to locally in Portland about certain 9/11 issues, things of that nature. Had him on my show a few times. And, you know, Portland, it was a city that I was born in. And it was a city in which I literally, as I said earlier, I fell into some hard times when I was 19, didn't really have people around or my own tribe. And so I kind of fell in order to rise up through the ashes and reinvent myself. And I think that's something that draws various people to Portland. And I will just say that I will not wish you ill. I will wish you the best of luck in your endeavors in Portland if you're there now or you're deciding that you're going to go there anyways. But as long as you understand the ride that you're in for, as long as synchronicity through your angels, your guides, and or mine, if they choose to assist me, as I literally put this out there, and as you can see from the title, I'm trying to reach people that are seriously considering moving there. Now, I think that if I can convince a few people to think a little twice and make sure they're able to deal with those energies and the economics and the real hardships that's there, I'm here to provide information. And I appreciate that. If people decide they're going to stick around and also check out my other content, check out the links down below. Maybe support me on a monthly basis. I'd be open to visiting Oregon in the future. But, you know, when I see videos like this from Mike Smith, it breaks my heart. I'm not going to pretend that I'm some man that's made of steel. I'm not a man that's made of steel. I'm a man of flesh. And when I watch this, my heart is broken. I'm not going to sprinkle this with any sugar or add any special law of attraction magic to it. This is the collapse of the city of the fallen goddess. And that is what I have coined Portland, Oregon years ago. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Share it, like it, subscribe if you're new. If you'd like to support this broadcast or be of assistance to me getting my videos out there, this includes posting at Reddit. This includes just simply posting to your Twitter. Feel free to do so. I'm Alex Ansary signing off, reminding you the path to the ultimate truth and place of power still lies within.